Hey guys, Pete Peppers here. Today we're going to talk about the coolest new feature in Farm Heroes Super Saga, the Wind. While the new windy levels are really cool, they're also quite tricky to figure out. So I hope this video will help you get moving in the right direction. We're also going to be talking about levels with Fidget the Squirrel, and on those levels how to move the squirrel and the nut together so that you can complete your goals. We have a lot of stuff to go over, so let's get started right away. So let's talk about how this wind actually works. In the very first wind level, it gives us a little pop-up that explains that there's wind on this level and we see the leaves go by, and then it gives us a little indicator to show us that if we match towards the left, and I've added this arrow here, that the wind moves to the left, and that causes all of the cropsies to push in the direction of our match. So this is another left-sided one. You move it to the left and everything moves left. This would happen in any direction. This one here, when we look at the carrot, if I move this carrot down, the pieces behind it will fill in the direction towards the bottom. And the main thing you need to keep an eye on and think about here is just where do you want them to go and which direction do you need to move the piece you're going to swipe in order to make that happen. Here's one that goes up. You can see if I move the pair up, everything moves up. And then I'll just leave a couple more here where you can watch and sort of guess by watching the cursor which way you think it's going to go. So the question I've heard the most on my Farm Heroes Super Saga Tips Facebook page is, how do I move the squirrel to the nut? The wind on squirrel levels works exactly the same, but for some reason it can be a little bit harder to get used to. Here we're not just trying to move crops one way or the other, we're trying to bring two objects together. So remember, the direction you swipe the cropsy to make the match will always be the direction the wind will push. So if you want to move the acorn to the right, you will want to swipe a cropsy to the right in front of the actual object. So in this example, we have the squirrel at the top and we have the acorn down at the bottom. In order to collect the nut, we're going to have to move these two pieces closer together. And you can see by watching the cursor how I'm making matches either from the top to the bottom or the bottom to the top in order to get them closer together. At this point we hit a snag. We don't have one that's clear and right in front that will move them together, so we have to figure out another way to do it. In this particular case, I'm going to use a super cropsy because that actually boosts the squirrel's tail. If you watch here, he reaches a little bit further. It's sort of like a super mat. So we'll look at one more example that's a little bit more complicated, and hopefully that'll get you ready to learn how to conquer the windy levels. So here we have the squirrel down at the bottom, the acorn up at the top, and they're on opposite sides of the board. So one of the things to keep in mind when you're doing this is you could make this match in two different ways. You could move the blue down or the yellow up. Obviously we want to move the blue down so that the acorn will move down. Same thing here. We want to move the banana up so that the squirrel will come out of the little notch on the side. So just keep an eye on where we can move things. We can go left or right or up and down, and in this example we want to move the squirrel to the left because that'll give us a little more room to work. We can move them up. This is an example where you might want to just get rid of all the purple, but we can actually move the acorn rather close, so I'm going to go ahead and do that instead. Now I can just go ahead and match the water, and that'll put them right next to each other so they're touching, and that's all you have to do. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope that you keep in mind that the windy levels do take a little practice, but if you follow that rule, you'll be able to beat them all sooner or later. So just remember, whichever direction you swipe the very first cropsy to make the match, that's where the wind's going to push. And when you need to move the squirrel and the nut together, just look for matches that are in front of one or the other that move them closer together. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Thanks a lot.